it's very important that agencies attempt to maintain their compliance processes, even when it's hard, even when you're busy, even when it feels like something else needs to take priority. Hi everyone, this is Mariam Treystman from the Home Health Consultant, and today we're going to talk about a mindset topic, specifically doing things the right way. But first, if you like our content, please like, share, and subscribe. Doing things the right way is similar to having a healthy lifestyle. Some days, you might be like perfect 100%, like hitting it 100%. Some days you might be at 80%. Some days you might slack altogether. But the point is that there's this like constant effort towards the ultimate, not goal, but the maintenance of the situation. And so with compliance, there's no end point. There's no like goal you reach and you're done. There's only maintenance of the compliance process. And like enrollment agencies, meaning agencies who are just barely starting out, have a couple of patients, like 10 patients, are going through their surveys still to get their provider number. They really excel at doing things the right way because they have to put this maintenance of effort into compliance over a period of a few months. It takes a few months to see the amount of patients that you need to go through a survey. Doing anything for a few months is very easy. And then you have giant agencies that are like, every role has a very specified and an individual who's like specific and focused in that role. So like, for example, there's like a head of HR and they own the HR process. And then there's like, the head of like wound management. So like wound management has this like really narrow focus. I'm talking about agencies that have like 1,000 plus or 2,000 patients, like this. Every little kind of section will have its own department head or somebody that focuses on making sure that it goes right. And then there's everybody in between, which is almost everybody. It's like the small to medium and the medium-sized agencies that have to maintain compliance processes along with day-to-day activities while people are juggling these things together. And so we've touched on this in a million other videos where it's very hard to wear the compliance role and wear I got to do this task fast because there's a time frame and a limit and like this patient needs to get staffed role. And so that's why a lot of these kind of like things that are these compliance things that are like, yeah, there's time frames. Yeah, there's deadlines. Yeah, you should be doing it. Yeah, there's rules to meet. You should check to make sure that you're following the rules and whatever. These kind of go to the background versus, hey, I have to make payroll by the end of like today. If I don't get these payroll checks out by the end of today, no one's visiting my patients tomorrow. So like I need to get these out. Or like, oh, a patient came in and they need IV by the evening, now I have to find a nurse, an IV company, like a pharmacy, like all this stuff, right? So there are things that just take urgency and priority over other tasks that feel like I could do this tomorrow, I could do this next week, and then you blink and it's been 3 months, and then you blink and now like a year has passed by and you've kind of snoozed on it. And this happens in every aspect of life. And so just like with everything else in business and in your life, anything that requires maintenance needs to have a focus on your day-to-day tasks and not some kind of goal. If you ultimately want to have a healthy lifestyle, like, yeah, you can put, let's say, I want to lose 10 pounds or I want to, whatever, some kind of like ultimate like goal kind of thing. But really the only way to get there is by maintaining some consistent effort day to day that will get you there and maintain you there. And so what a lot of well-meaning companies in this like teenage phase will do, like they're not like brand new babies where they have like, like 10, 15 patients max to like take care of. And they're not like 2,000 patient kind of agencies. What a lot of people will do is get into this cycle that you might remember from college or school if you've done it, where you kind of procrastinate on things and then catch it up real quick in the end. So while this is natural for like humans to get into this cycle, it is the worst thing for compliance. And first and foremost, because, following compliance standards, that's the law. Like, it's kind of the law to do it. So that's like the very first reason why you should be following these things. But we're not here to lecture you on that's the law and you should do it because it's the law. Like, things happen, and really, as a consulting group, we're here to kind of show you through that and help you create systems around that. Because really the problem isn't that a lot of agencies might not know what's needed. I mean, some agencies just don't know what's needed, but a lot of times people know what's needed. They even might know how to do the things. They just don't have the resources, or it's not a priority. And then over time, you get to the place where, I have to prep for a survey, or I have a complaint survey, or, whatever the is. And now we're in this stress mode catching it up. And so here are the reasons not to do this. Again, number one, it's the law. Self-explanatory, we're moving right past it. Number two, it is much easier to do things on time and in the intended way than it is to snooze for a long time and then catch it up. So why is that easier? Because when you're neglecting compliance aspect and then you get to the time where it's like do or die, you have to catch it up, right? Now you have to stop all these things that have taken priority over the compliance, stop or slow it down. So what we'll see is a lot of agencies, when they survey prep, they'll take much less patients in that time. They're not going to be admitting a lot of patients. The marketing efforts just kind of like chill out for a little bit to make room for this like survey prep, catch up, this kind of moment. Well, if you're neglecting compliance to take patients and service the patients, but then you're stopping to take patients to catch up on compliance, it ultimately ends up evening out, no? Like the ultimate point of ignoring it here to just ignore this thing here now, it kind of ends up evening out. But what you will end up finding is that it's easier to do one or two things every day, every week, every month, and then come to this moment where it's time to like present your work essentially for a survey, let's say. Yeah, of course, you'll still have to go back, take a look, make sure everything's in order. But all of that work has been done in a 5 minutes to 15 minutes a day kind of way, in a 1 hour a week kind of way, in this like small incremental process as part of your daily life, in a way where other things that are part of you, right? Like you don't really think about making your coffee. You just kind of like make it. So if you can create processes in your compliance to just like not really think about doing them and just kind of do it, that is ultimately much easier than, now I have to, section out like a month or two to like take less patients and everyone has to like put their compliance hat on now. And, there are some things that you can't catch up. Like they have to be done in those times. So what do you do with those? It's just a lot easier to just like do a couple of things on a daily basis than to go back and try to do 1, 2, or 3 years worth of like stuff in a couple of months. The third reason for doing it right is that it's less stressful. Everybody knows like the doom loop of procrastinating on something and then getting it done real quick, especially, if you have the social media version of like ADHD kind of thing where we snooze, 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 snooze. I do this too. And then like in like the last hour of something, I can like produce 10 months of work, like, yeah, it's cool, but it's not It's not a good idea for just your general stress level and like the way you live your life. And I'm not here to lecture you on like how you live your life on a day-to-day basis, but in terms of compliance, it's just like a lot less stressful to like not have legalities that you're not like meeting and then being stressed about. I'm laughing and stuff because everyone's been there. Like that is so relatable to everybody. Same for like cleaning your house all the time and whatever. There's just so many like personal examples that you can give for this situation. But especially when you talk about like legal stuff, right? Like the rules of managing your business and running a healthcare company. I've found in like, so much experience that people who ultimately like neglect compliance efforts, whether it's because they don't know or they do know and they don't have resources or they just don't know where to start or they're just not prioritizing, whatever the reasons are, and there could be 1,000 reasons, they are very stressed out about this. Like, even if it's not front of mind all the time, it's like a big weight on their shoulders all the time. Just like knowing that there's a piece of things that's like not getting done. And if like they get a surprise survey or whatever, like that piece of things could ultimately like tumble the whole business. And what's interesting is there are a lot of conditional things that are not related to patient care. They might be ultimately related to patient care, like as in, for example, if you're not doing QAPI, ultimately your care isn't improving. Ultimately, you're probably not identifying problems in your care that need solving. So yes, it relates to patient care that way. But it doesn't relate to it on a day-to-day basis. Like, I need to staff this patient. I need to make sure the nurse gets there on time. I need to make sure I get my documentation in on time. This kind of stuff. Like, I need to export my OASIS. I need to send my claim. Like, the day-to-day of business is kind of like not always touched by these other compliance processes. And so people just don't prioritize them for a million reasons. And then every single day are stressed out about it. This can really like weigh down your energy and your psyche in this way. And it just creates a heavier version of yourself and the people around you. People in agencies who mind their compliance are typically like happier and lighter than people in agencies who ignore it. Because you just kind of, and what does ignoring it really mean? It means like, maybe I should have checked that you're doing this process correctly and I didn't, things like that. I don't know. But the point is that the stress level of ignoring it and then the stress level of having to catch it up, you're kind of like, you're here on neutral and then you spike here in the catch up. And then you spike here again in the presentation of it, like in the survey or whatever, right? And so when you come back down from the stress, you're coming back still to a raised stress level of like, oh, I knew, yeah, okay, we caught it up, now it's fine. But like literally one day later, it's again falling behind. Whereas people who are maintaining these processes are existing like here, like you might be here ignoring it, and they're like here always, and then their spike to like right before the survey might come up to like where you normally are on a day-to-day basis. Because on a day-to-day, they know that they're doing what is in their power to do, regardless of what the outcomes end up being. And so just knowing you're doing the steps is enough to like reduce that personal stress. So that's like the third reason, and a very big reason to just like incorporate these couple of processes into your daily life. And that's it. And kind of like forget about it, not really think about it past it being structured in your daily life. The fourth reason for maintaining compliance and essentially doing it right is that you are not jeopardizing your company between maintenance spikes. So like if you're doing it right consistently, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this because we have like 4,000 different like articles and we've talked about this a million times, like all the things that can happen if you snooze on compliance. For example, you get a complaint survey. Now they've uncovered all the things you haven't been doing, and I mean, that can be anything from a conditional deficiency to just like taking you on an immediate jeopardy or a shutdown track. It's just very, very like unpleasant, kind of catastrophic things that lead to a worst case scenario kind of moment. Whereas you could just avoid that by incorporating these processes in your daily life. And so the longer you go between catch up moments in compliance, if you're not incorporating them into your daily life. So let's say like every 3 months you try to catch up, or every 6 months, or every year, whatever. The longer you go, that's how long of a risk gap you're leaving to create like space for those moments that can create a catastrophe in your company. And so just like having these processes maintained on a daily basis either reduces it significantly or just fully eliminates like intense immediate jeopardy situations, surprise surveys that can result in shutdown, like things like that. So you just really want to avoid that stuff, and it's going to make you feel better on a day-to-day basis. And the fifth reason to do it right is that the skill of catching things up versus the skill of maintaining it, these are different skills. And so when you might know how to do everything and do a great job at catch up, but that's not the same skill as the maintenance and the actual doing of the compliance aspects. So like you really, really, really want to get good at the skill of maintenance versus the skill of catch up. The skill of catch up just means you know what this should look like in the end. The skill of maintenance means you know how to do it. And that's a very big differentiation. And what that does for you and your company is it creates experts, not just in compliance, but in all of the relevant and important processes within your company. Because knowing what it looks like in the end and knowing how to maintain it over time, these are very different things, and they lead to ultimately different outcomes. And what do we mean? What do we mean when we say outcomes? Maybe the outcome of passing your survey remains the same, whether you maintain it or you catch it up. But the outcome of better care, higher value-based purchasing scores, higher star ratings and higher reimbursements, less catastrophic events, and less legal jeopardy and things like that, those outcomes don't happen in the catch-up. And that's why it's very important that agencies attempt to maintain their compliance processes, even when it's hard, even when you're busy, even when it feels like something else needs to take priority. And that's where we come in. Our job and our goal and the whole purpose of creating the system was to give agencies a fighting chance at maintaining this during that like awkward, I'm not tiny, meaning I'm not brand new. It's not like 2 months out the gate, but I'm also not like 2,000 patients. Every little task has a whole dedicated person to it. It's for the agencies that people still wear multiple hats in their companies. Like the owner is the administrator, is the marketing person, is the payroll person, is the accountant. The DON is the visiting nurse, is like, that's who this is specifically for. It's for the agencies where people are wearing multiple hats. Maybe your administrator works in multiple places, so they can't, devote full time to you or full energy. And so what we do is we simplify the processes. We've templated out a lot of things and tested them over a lot of different agencies. And we work these processes into your daily life. We adjust the various whatever templating we have. We do adjust and customize according to your agency needs at our quarterly meetings. So this isn't just some like template and kind of applies to you but kind of doesn't. It's not like that. It is customized then to your actual needs. But the legwork of creating a process, the legwork of creating like a solution to a problem or identifying the problem, we help you with all of that and we guide you through it to make sure that this part of the work is getting done. So all you have to do at that point is like implement it, meaning tell your staff about it or, whatever. Like we essentially guide and direct you based on what it is we're working on. And this takes a big pressure off of the agencies that, in times this happens to everybody, where you're busy, you just kind of end up not prioritizing this stuff. So we kind of become the constant that prioritizes this stuff and keeps you on track in the background while you do your day-to-day things. And then the time it takes you to maintain this compliance is reduced by like 80-90%, literally, by working in our system. So that is the mindset kind of concept for doing it right. But we are not the only way you could do it right. You could do it right within your agency without outside help. There are other ways to kind of maintain compliance. For us, it's very important that you just do it. Whether you do it with us or not is up to you. But we do want to emphasize that doing things the right way versus the doom loop of snooze, catch up, doing it the right way is the right way. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Mariam Treystman from the Home Health Consultant, and this was why it's important to do it right. If you like our content, please like, share, and subscribe.